Okay, what's up, people? It is your boy MM2K of Geeks and Cloud Dosage back again with a special video. This is a very positive and great video, one that I am so happy to make because this is something that I've been waiting on forever, and that is Dragon's Dogma 2 finally being updated, the PC version or the GFN version or whatever, being updated where it now performs consistently above 60 frames per second. Prior to this update, when you try to a variety of settings, particularly in 4K, you were hard pressed to get 60 frames per second or above in places where there were a lot of NPCs and a lot of what do you call it, in the city, particularly right around a lot of lighting like fires and stuff like that. There was a serious bottleneck, and that's because there is a CPU bottleneck with this game. Here I'm going to show you that now the game consistently, particularly with Geforce Now Ultimate, I'm not trying this with Geforce Now Priority or the free tier. This is strictly Geforce Now Ultimate. Ultimate members can now get the best bang out of their tier as they've been used to, you know what I'm saying? And you can get 60 frames per second at 4K on this game, no matter where you're at now. So what I want to do is show you the actual gameplay at above 60 frames per second. I want to show you my settings where I got them pretty much maxed out, and I want to show you what you want to do after this particular update to ensure that you are getting the same results. That being said, let's first take a look at this. So this is the actual update on the Dragon Dogma 2 site, and it talks about this update that occurred on May 31st, 2024. I'm recording this the day after, not sure when this will go live. Might not go live until the 2nd. Or maybe even after that of June. That being said, this was dropped in the middle of the night. Nobody knew about this, right? So it adds a variety of in-game stuff to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Steam. But more importantly for us, this adds DLSS frame generation to graphics and options. And I want to go back here. Let's do this. Let's go back here to the actual game. Here we go. We're gonna go back to the actual game, and I'm going to show you in the menu where this is. So if you go to system, of course, go to options, go to graphics, you will now see DLSS frame generation as an option under DLSS resolution. Here is my suggestion. If you have Geforce Now Ultimate and you're looking to play this at 4K in 60 plus frames per second, here are the best settings I feel that you can do. So before I get into these settings here, I do want to show you something else that you're going to have to do before you even get into the game. So let's do this. Let's go over here so I can make that visible. And then let's go, where is my web window? Right here. All right, so made a snapshot of my Geforce Now settings menu. So what you'll do is when you're in Geforce Now, all right, this is before you get into the game, you're gonna wanna hit those 3 bars over there, select settings, it'll take you to the screen. Scroll down here where you get to the streaming quality. Now, me in particular, just so you guys are aware, I have a I'm playing this on a computer where there's a 3070 in it. I am playing on a gig up, gig down internet. So that's why my settings are on custom and I got everything bumped all the way up. All right. So regardless of how you do that part, it's all up upon your rig or whatever. But if you're looking to play this at 4K 60, okay, make sure that the resolution is there, of course. I pumped that frame rate up to 120 frames per second. But here are the two most important settings. First and foremost, make sure that VSync is either off or on adaptive. I've noticed that when I put it on adaptive, that I was getting the best frames. You may want to play with adaptive versus off and see if you get better visual fidelity. I prefer just leaving it off, right? Because I want those frames. So VSync either off or on adaptive. I recommend off, all right? But you can play around with adaptive to see if you get better visuals. Next is reflex, okay? This is something that you're gonna wanna turn off. Now, I know in other videos and stuff before this patch, you wanted to make sure that this was on, you know what I'm saying, because it helped with frames. In this case, with DLSS frame generation being active inside the menu, something about these two kind of clash a little bit to where I did notice a little bit of better fidelity, you know what I'm saying? But it's at the risk of the frames. Actually, when I got this on, when I got reflex on, it's more likely with the settings that I have in game to drop below 60. Now, the least I seen it drop to was 59, 58. So you may say that's not a big deal, I don't care as long as I'm not getting 40, 30 frames per second. Yeah, this eradicates that, the options that I'm going to show you there. But if frames are everything to you, along with the balance of quality DLSS mode, like if you want to squeeze out as many frames as possible with that mode, and you're willing to risk just a finite bit of graphical fidelity, then I recommend turning this off, toggling that off, and having VSync off, okay? With that said, let's get back in game and let me show you the main menu options that I have so you can get the best bang out of your buck. All right, so as you can see here, I got it on full screen. I got it on 4K resolution, and my refresh rate is at 120. Max FPS is 120. It grays out all these the next three options, and then you get right to DLSS super resolution. I got that on quality. DLSS frame generation, I have that on. It grays out reflex low latency, right? But I got upscale sharpness all the way up. Image quality seems to be grayed out, but when you get to mesh quality and all these other options, I got everything on the highest setting except for motion blur. I turn motion blur off. I particularly don't like motion blur, but I turn it off. You can play around with that and see what effects, if any, it has on frames. I doubt that it will have much of a significant effect. Yeah, so these are the settings. I got everything bumped up as high as possible, except for motion blur. Let's see what this looks like in theory. Now, granted, I'm in the city. I'm in the city during daylight. And I'm in the city during daylight, and there's that fire pit that you see in the background. I'm going to walk around that. These are the most straining bottleneck situations that you're going to run into in this game. And I want you to see the frames that I'm getting now. Let's go. Going around here, it did drop to 66, 71, but it did not go below 60. Might hit. Now this is, for some reason, it's a funny area right there. Sometimes it might attempt, like I saw it hit 59 one time, but it consistently stays above 60. Here's the thing. If you put that reflex on in the main GFN menu, as I was showing you prior, it's definitely going to hit under 60. It's not going to go any lower than 54. It's not going to go any lower than 54. It's only going to stay there momentarily. But as you can see in the most strenuous areas, okay, there it goes. It hit 58 right there.
Has made significant alterations to the
in the most strenuous areas, it's going to stay, for the 99% of the time, it's going to stay above 60 with lighting, with a whole bunch of NPCs present. Like this is daytime, a bunch of NPCs are present. I got a couple of like trigger missions that are going to happen with NPCs. And as you can see, the performance is so much better. Just to give you an idea of what you were dealing with before they added frame generation to the on-system menu, I just want to show you guys what was happening here. You tried these settings without frame generation. I'm gonna turn it off, right? Save changes, yes. Let's go back into the game. And
your duty. Lest
we go.
forget,
Look at that.
'tis
Drop
the
to
arisen
40.
serve here.
Let's go around this.
Well
Oh
aware of
gosh,
that.
yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a little bit better than what it was because this thing would drop to 29 if I tried to circle around this. A little bit better. The patch just overall dealt with some of the optimization of the game, but the biggest part is that frame generation is in there. Look at that. I'm getting like double the frames, if not more, right? In a time of the day where there's less NPCs, you're gonna hit 100 easy. Like I recorded a video earlier today where I was hitting hundreds like it was nothing in that same area, but because it's, I guess, part of the day where there's more NPCs out, you know, the game is CPU bottleneck and the NPCs will drop the frames. That being said, some people may say, well, why don't you bump down some of this stuff? I discovered with this game that it's best to really push that GPU. So the more that you press the GPU with frame generation on, the better your frames will be without you sacrificing too much fidelity. Now, you will get more frames with balanced, but I don't think it's worth it. It's not that much more frames. It's like maybe 2 or 3 more frames. Your best bet is putting it on quality, maxing everything out that you can that isn't grayed out. I don't like motion blur. That might give you a couple more frames. If you gotta have it, go ahead and do that. One more thing that I do want to show you is that ray tracing is on here, right? A lot of you, let's get out of here. I'll show you real quick. That, and let's go back to the title screen. A lot of you took ray tracing off and you probably forgot how to turn it back on. You can only turn ray tracing. You can't turn it on in game. You can only turn ray tracing on from the title screen. Go to the title screen, hit options, go to graphics. Now you'll see that ray tracing can be toggled on and off. But again, if you turned it off because you were following other videos where they suggested that you turn it off to get better frames, you don't have to do that anymore. You can toggle it back on. Just make sure you go to the title screen to do that. All right, I'm gonna go back in the game, show you what I've been enjoying in the game as far as the frames are concerned in some of the most strenuous areas. And yeah, this is it. I guess everybody knows as soon as you hit that city, that was the test of time to see, or the test of frames, see what was going on. As you can see, I'm walking around this pit. It's dropped down to 62, but it's staying above 60, right? Okay, did drop to 59 momentarily there. There's a lot of, but again, I'm not getting drops down to 40, 45, whatever. This for me is playable. I can definitely do that. I momentarily dropped to 59 that, as you can see, as I was running around before, doesn't happen often. Even if it did just stay at 59 around here, that is so much better than what I was getting before, right? So with that said, those are your options. That's your best bet. Let's look at them one more time, okay? To get some great fidelity and to get great performance. Full screen, 3080/40 over 2160. Put that refresh rate up and that frame rate up. Some of you may say, well, just so there's not so much frame fluctuation, why not cap them at 60? This frame generation integration isn't working 100% properly yet. So if you try to cap it, it's not going to work. You're only going to make matters worse because it's going to still jump up to 70, 80, whatever. So, 90, depending upon how many NPCs are in the area. It's not even worth trying. You have to deal with the fluctuation of frames. Again, quality, I got it on quality DLSS Super, which is not native 4K. It gets upscaled to 4K, but it's native 1800p. Check it out. And it looks great with that. The most important feature, frame generation, is on here. And then everything that is not grayed out, once you turn frame generation on, bump it up as much as you can. I guess motion blur too if you want to. I'm not a big fan of it. All right. Well, that's it. Hopefully that video helps you. All this makes sense. Hopefully now with the power of NVIDIA GeForce Now Ultimate, you can now enjoy Dragon's Dogma 60 plus frames per second consistently, no matter what. With that said, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.